Hello, everyone. This is the Meandering Grandpa guy once again. I'm coming to you from my home here in Oaxaca, Mexico. And I have spent the last couple of days compiling a video about 6 Mexican beach towns that are quite popular these days. And I apologize that the video is kind of long, but it was the only way I could fit all 6 in. And anyway, the information contained here is pretty much up to date, although for prices and expected housing costs and so forth, do yourself a favor and Google before you try to move to someplace. Any rate, I just wanted to introduce the video. There will be 6 beach towns we're talking about, 3 on the East Coast. They're all on the Yucatan Peninsula. And then 3 on the West Coast, spread out along 1,000 miles of the West Coast of Mexico. So without further ado, let's begin. Thank you. Well, first of all, let's talk about Puerto Morelos. Puerto Morelos is the first city as you come down on the Yucatan Peninsula from Cancun. At least it's the first one of the 6 that we're going to be talking about. Puerto Morelos strikes a balance between the rustic charm of a fishing village, which it still is actually, and it has the comforts of a small town as well. It's quieter than its neighbors in this group, Tulum and Playa del Carmen, but it's still close enough so that you can visit Tulum and Playa del Carmen from Puerto Morelos if you wish. It's a lovely little place. It's very compact. I think the population is something like 27,000, so it's tiny compared with Cancun or Playa del Carmen, for instance. It's a little bit on the costly side. For the Yucatan, it's less expensive than the other 2. However, we're still talking about, let me read these figures here, expected monthly living costs for a couple would be around $1,500 to $1,800 US. Not bad, really. And this excludes rent. Now, a 2-bedroom apartment typically ranges from $800 to $1,200 US per month there. And that's often within walking distance of the beach. If you want to go on the other side of the federal highway, 10 minutes from the beach, you'd have to drive to the beach from there, but the prices would drop dramatically. So you could get by spending quite a bit less if you went there. At any rate, medical care is available in town, but you have the larger facilities nearby, and Cancun, for instance. It's a perfect place for snorkeling and diving, and it's got a coral reef right offshore, which you can get to. You have to take a boat. They won't let you swim out to it. It's close offshore. You can see it from the shoreline. At any rate, one unique feature is its slow pace. This is a very relaxed, tiny town. I think it's maybe 12 blocks long and 4 blocks deep, so it's a tiny town. And it's still lovely. It's a great place to enjoy the Mayan Riviera without all the hustle and bustle of Cancun or Playa or the other cities. So, without further ado, here goes. Let's take a look.
paso las noches llorando por él.
Now let's talk about the city of Playa del Carmen, which is just south of Puerto Morelos along the Mayan Riviera. Playa is a place I've visited many times. The first time was, gosh, back in the 90s, 30 some years ago. And back then it was a small fishing village with maybe 15, 16,000 people. Today, let me see, I think it's 330,000 people. Needless to say, things have changed. Of the Mayan Riviera cities, and as a matter of fact, of all the Mexican coastal cities that we're talking about, Playa del Carmen is the busiest, and it's more of a party town than any of the others. Didn't used to be, but it is today. It's also one of the more expensive cities. I believe it's number 2. That's the second most expensive city out of the 6 that we're talking about. But anyhow, it has beautiful beaches, very festive, holiday, touristy atmosphere, and you can have a good time there. It's not exactly a quiet place for reflection and isolation, but it has a nice beach, albeit crowded, and it's a fun place to visit. It's also where there's a ferry boat that goes to the island of Cozumel, and that can be a fun little excursion. Not to mention there are some cenotes and other places of interest within the range of Playa del Carmen. So all in all, it's a nice place to visit. A little on the pricey side, but cheap compared with the United States at least. Anyway, all of this having been said, let's look at some photos and take a trip into Playa del Carmen. Thank you. Yes, Carnival or Mardi Gras is celebrated here. The next town south of Playa del Carmen on the Mayan Riviera is the smaller city of Tulum. Tulum, Mexico is a lovely little place. Gosh, 20 years ago, it was a sleepy little town and it hadn't quite been discovered yet. It's been discovered now. And it's today, of all the 6 cities we're talking about, Tulum is the most expensive. And I'm looking at some figures here. Total estimated cost, for instance, for an American couple living in Tulum, and this is housing and food and entertainment, is saying estimated between $1,900 and $3,600 a month US. Now, by US standards, that's not bad, but by Mexican standards, that's quite high. At any rate, Tulum is about 90 minutes drive south of the Cancun airport. It's a lovely place. It's one of my favorite places. I used to go there quite often. And it's grown a lot. Today, there's even an international airport that opened up just last year in Tulum. It's actually a few miles outside of Tulum. At any rate, let's look at some pictures of Tulum and we'll talk about it. Well, now let's head to the west coast, the Pacific coast of Mexico, and visit Puerto Escondido. Puerto Escondido is in the state of Oaxaca, and it's about 4 hours by bus from the city of Oaxaca, which is the capital and the largest city in the state. At any rate, it's far less expensive than any place on the Mayan Riviera. And it's a smaller town. It's about 29,000 people, very manageable. I will say that the ocean there is nice and warm and swimmable. However, the waves can get big. They have surfing competitions there. So if you like to surf, it's a great place to go. And there's some quiet little coves where someone my age might prefer to swim. At any rate, it's not that expensive. It's a single person. Let me see here. I'm going to read these statistics. A single person can live well in Puerto Escondido on 1,100 to 1,300 US dollars. Not bad. And a two-bedroom apartment there ranges from 600 to 1,000 US dollars a month, uh, depending on the location, of course. The beaches are beautiful, and typically you get around there by taxi. I will say the topography is kind of steep, so for an 80-year-old guy like me, it's a lot of work hiking up and down to the beach. At any rate, there are lots of little local markets, and it's an interesting area. Bear in mind, though, the largest city is Oaxaca, and it's several hours away. So medical care and that sort of thing, if that's an issue for you, you might want to consider that. At any rate, let's take a look at some pictures of Puerto Escondido, where I spent a couple of weeks last year, and I liked it very much. Here we go. Mazatlan is the largest of the 6 cities that we're talking about, and it's unique in many ways. It's situated on the west coast, the Pacific coast of Mexico, about midway along that coastline, which, by the way, is about 1,000 miles long. So it's sort of toward the middle of it. And that whole coastline is referred to as the Mexican Riviera, as opposed to the Mayan Riviera, which is the east coast. Anyway, let's get that straight. Mazatlan is a large city, 500,000 people. It's a working city, but it's got a beautiful beach and a nice historic center. Unlike the other towns that we've talked about, it actually has an old colonial center, which is fun to explore. Nice restaurants down there. Nonetheless, it's highly accessible. It's not expensive. It's the fifth least expensive city that we're talking about, with living costs for a couple running, let me see, $1,300 to $1,500 US a month, and 2-bedroom apartments ranging from $500 to $900 a month. By the way, that's furnished apartments, renting for that. And the beach is highly accessible there. The Malecon, or the beach walkway, is the longest in Mexico. It's miles and miles. I don't know how many miles long it is, but the beach is lovely. It's quite swimmable. And that's one of the older resort areas along the Mexican Pacific coast. And because it's a large city, it has good medical coverage and that sort of thing, if that's of interest to you. Culture and affordability are a big deal there, and it's a real Mexican city. Mazatlan is not just a tourist city, although there are plenty of tourists. Anyway, let's take a look. By the way, I've been there several times, and the last time was last year. I spent 2 weeks walking the Malecon, and I took these pictures. So let's look at them. Well, here I am in the old historic town center of Mazatlan. Kind of nice, pleasant down here. It has a Caribbean vibe of all things, but we're pretty far from the Caribbean. I think that's due to the fact that back in the late 1800s, they sort of remodeled the town, and at that point in time, Havana was it was one of the centers of entertainment and tourism, and was very well thought of. So some of the architecture here looks like Havana at the turn of the century. Kind of cool, a little bit of history. And last but not least is the city of Rosarito, Mexico. It's in Baja, just south of Tijuana and just south of San Diego. In fact, it's only about 40 minutes south of the U.S. border. It's the least expensive of all the 6 beach cities that we've been talking about. The cuisine there is good. Apartments, 2-bedroom apartments, rent from $450 to $800 US a month. That's great. And a couple can live there comfortably, excluding rent, for $1,100 to say $1,300 a month. So it's a popular area for expats, and there's a large expat community. I have numerous friends there, and I really like the area. You're right on the beach, but I will say you're probably not going to want to go swimming because the water in that part of Mexico is chilly. You can, but people use a wetsuit, and I'm not going to go swimming there, but you're welcome to give it a try. At any rate, it's close to the Mexican wine country, and that's becoming a thing. It's the Guadalupe Valley, which is just south of Rosarito, and they're making some good Mexican wines there these days. At any rate, it's a convenient place. If you only speak English, that's fine. You can get by without speaking Spanish very easily because just about everybody speaks English. American currency is accepted, so you don't need to change your money into pesos, although I would recommend that because it'll be cheaper for you in the long run if you do. At any rate, it's a lovely town, and let's take a look. Well, folks, that's about it from the Meandering Grandpa today. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you did, why not come back and watch some of my other videos. At any rate, thank you for watching. Bye.
Yes, that was that cat, all right.